My boyfriend sent me a message the day before my school registration. Sorry, I can't accompany you to your new school. Let's break up. I replied to his message, only to find that I had been blocked. A big red exclamation mark seemed to mock me. He seemed to be afraid I would beg him to stay, so he didn't even leave me time for a two-word reply. At the same time, a text from my bank arrived, showing a deposit of $200,000. I opened my mobile banking app, and the transfer had a note, voluntary gift. Chapter 1. I didn't expect reality to be so dramatic. On the third day after my boyfriend sent me the breakup message, I saw him again. We were having a meal with my new roommates, and he appeared, holding a bouquet of roses and a carefully chosen cake. A tall and handsome guy, his eyes filled with deep affection as he looked at my new roommate. Melisande, happy birthday! I froze for a moment, realizing it was also my birthday today. Melisande's eyes sparkled as she looked around, took the bouquet, and said, "Thank you." The people around us exclaimed, "Wow, I heard this is Melly's childhood friend. He's so handsome." I'm melting. This kind of "I only have eyes for you" scene, I've only seen it in dramas. Considerate and thoughtful, he's basically the perfect boyfriend. Soon, another roommate added more details. Last night, Undine wasn't in the dorm, and I don't know if you noticed, but this handsome guy delivered a huge bag of stuff, with 307 written on the packaging. Inside, there was brown sugar ginger tea, sanitary pads, and a pack of heating pads. I nodded and softly agreed. Indeed, he's the perfect boyfriend. Candles were lit, and under the dim light, the girl gently closed her eyes and made a wish. The boy next to her also joined in, his long eyelashes trembling. The candles on the cake were blown out, and the lights came back on. Every time the birthday girl cut a piece of cake, Elias smiled and took it, handing it out with perfect coordination. When the piece reached me, Elias' smile froze for a moment. I took it and simply said, "Thank you." He snapped back to reality and coldly replied, "You're welcome." Melisande tugged at his sleeve and whispered, "You're too cold to my roommate." He lowered his eyelids and said, "No need to be too warm." Yes. Now we were just strangers. Chapter 2. Elias and I weren't from the same world. I was a golden phoenix that flew out of a mountain. When I arrived in the big city, the golden light on me disappeared. Apart from my studies, I had to deal with tuition fees, living expenses, and my grandmother's medical bills. Even with scholarships, it often felt suffocating. I spent every day shuttling between the library and my part-time jobs. One evening, during a heavy downpour, I missed the bus back to school. I gritted my teeth, holding an umbrella as I walked. When passing a secluded road, I saw a severely wrecked car. I didn't know much about cars, but it looked expensive. In the driver's seat, a young man was bleeding from his head and unconscious. The car's fuel tank was ruptured, and the oil stains were spreading. I stood far away and dialed 120, then rushed to pull open the car door. Hey, can you move?" I slapped his face. He groggily opened his eyes. "Don't worry about me. It's dangerous. Hurry and leave." Even in such an urgent situation, thinking of a stranger's safety showed he was a kind person. I pulled him up, staggering as I helped him walk forward. I had strength since I had always done things myself since I was young. The heavy rain made it hard for me to keep my eyes open, but I kept my head down, dragging him forward. Finally, we got away from the wrecked vehicle. "Little brother, did you eat spinach? You managed to drag me this big and walk so far." After being drenched by the rain, he became a little more conscious. I had short hair, and he mistook me for a boy. But for my safety, I didn't explain. Seeing I didn't reply, he wasn't annoyed and leaned on me. "Are you an adult? You look so young. Help me make a call with your phone." Following his request, I took out my old mobile phone. For the first time, he showed a surprised expression on his face. "When I'm better, I'll buy you a new phone." The call connected, and the sound of mahjong came through, followed by a woman's impatient voice. "Elias, what's up?" "Mom, I crashed the car. Where are you?" He looked around. "C Road. No, 1200. "Stop lying. How did you end up there? Are you making up excuses to ask me for money again? Go ask your dad." Then, The call was cut off. He smiled self-deprecatingly and explained, "I've cried wolf too many times. It doesn't work anymore." I asked him if he needed to call someone else. Before he could answer, possibly due to the rain getting into his phone, it went black. I helplessly tried it. Then, under his gaze, put it back in my pocket. "Remember to pay me back for the repair costs. You're still so protective of it, even when it's broken like this? What's your name? Send me your address, and I'll buy you a new phone and send it to you." What a chatterbox. As the weight on my shoulder grew heavier, I looked back. Finally, he stopped talking. I didn't want to get too involved, so I ignored him. When the ambulance arrived, the rain had lessened, but Elias had lost too much blood and was delirious again. The medical staff lifted him onto a stretcher and called out to me, "Family, please come along." I squeezed my shy pocket and shook my head. "I'm not family." At that moment, another car suddenly stopped, and a woman dressed in jewels rushed out and directly boarded the ambulance. A voice came from the open back door of the ambulance. "Elias, how are you?" I turned and walked away, picking up the umbrella that had been dropped nearby. To my surprise, I found a shattered watch face. Was it his? Chapter 3. In the second month, I took on a new tutoring job with a good hourly wage. My student was a short-haired little boy named Leonardo, fresh and handsome, dressed in British-style clothes, and very polite. He looked so familiar. Where had I seen him before? The villa was quiet, with only a housekeeper and him. There was little bustle. He was very smart and cooperative, but just too quiet. The housekeeper, Butler Lou, treated me very well. She would always cut fruit and prepare flower tea for me. While chatting, I learned that she had a daughter in middle school. Although their family was not rich, they were loving, and their family atmosphere was harmonious. She said she found me very approachable and asked where I was from and who was in my family. I wasn't sure what triggered it, but her eyes turned red. I lied. One day, when the lesson was over, Butler Lou sent me out and locked the door. Suddenly, a big dog jumped out. She was so scared that her face turned pale and she stepped back, twisting her ankle. I had no choice but to help her back inside. I asked Butler Lou if she had a first aid kit. Her ankle was swollen quite a bit. "Butler Lou, with that ankle, you should at least rest for a week," I said. She gave a bitter smile and shook her head. "Thank you, Ondine. It's just that now it's troublesome. Leo doesn't like takeout." Thinking of that overly quiet little boy, I put away the first aid kit. "If you don't mind, sit in the back and guide me. I'll make dinner for you. Don't worry, don't worry," Butler Lou replied repeatedly. Butler Lou sat in the kitchen, helping to pick vegetables while I cooked in front. We worked in perfect harmony. "Ondine, I really didn't expect you to be so capable. You cook better than I do," she complimented. I poured hot oil over the steamed fish, and with a sizzling sound, the fragrance filled the air. I worked part-time at a restaurant during my holiday, so I can cook some simple home dishes, I explained. All my part-time jobs had two goals, either learning skills or earning a higher salary. Of course, most of the time, I chose the latter. For dishes and a soup, simple and quick, I said goodbye to Butler Lou and left my phone number with her, telling her to call me if she needed anything, and I'd help as much as I could. Butler Lou was a strong-willed person, and she never asked me for help once. A week later, when I returned, she was already feeling better. I quietly resigned from this family tutoring job. Chapter 4. Wow. Truly wealthy people. Someone is offering a high reward to find a broken watch. One of my roommates showed me a trending post online. It had a date, an address, and a picture. Well, I guess I won the lottery. The broken watch I found had an owner. After school, I contacted the owner. The world is really small. The owner was Elias. At the school gate, he stood by his car in a black shirt, arrogantly sizing me up. "How do you have my watch? What reward do you want?" I didn't want to get involved with him. 300 yuan. 300 yuan was the price of my old phone. He sneered. "My watch isn't worth that much. The reason I posted this is to find the thief." When I heard he wanted to find the thief, I got annoyed. I just wanted the price of an old phone, not to be forced into claiming I owed him my life. I pulled out my broken old phone from my pocket and held it up in front of him. The phone repair cost is 300 yuan. Settle it. The watch? I found it after you were taken away by the ambulance. I added. Wait, you're that little one? He exclaimed, his mouth wide open. What a mess of nonsense. With all these random names. I kept my face cold. He awkwardly explained. Heh, if you found it, then it makes sense. Not looking for the thief anymore? Not anymore. Not anymore. There's no thief, clearly. You're the little fairy who saved me. He changed his expression so quickly. It was almost like a theatrical performance. 300 yuan. How can 300 yuan settle a life-saving favor? Let me treat you to a meal. Before I could hesitate, he immediately shouted. I'm hungry. Let's eat together. You saved me, little fairy. I was pushed into a fast food restaurant, and when I saw Leonardo at the table, I didn't react immediately. Ondine. Hello. I smiled and nodded. Hi, little Leo. Elias wrapped his arm around the little boy in front of me. You know my little brother? I tutored Leonardo for 2 months. I've never seen you before, he said, then realized. Oh, right. I was in the hospital. No wonder. This guy seems to have a split personality. He can be arrogant, and then suddenly turn into a chatterbox. Didn't your mom say you don't like outside food? I said, watching Leonardo munching on his food. Crumbs all over his mouth. That's my mom thinking. You know, what kid doesn't like fast food? I totally agreed. This was the first time I had it when I was 18. While working, of course. It's delicious. After the meal, a delivery guy brought Elias a gift box. Inside was a brand new phone. He opened it, entered his number, and handed it to me. Don't refuse. The favor you did for me is too big. I'm worried you'll think this gift is too cheap. Well, this rich kid must be afraid of getting entangled with poor people. Seeing that I didn't reject the gift, he added, the watch was a gift from my grandfather. I thought I lost it, but now I've gotten it back. I'm really grateful. Even the proudest young master has a soft spot in his heart. Aside from working part-time, I focused on preparing for the graduate entrance exams. During this time, Elias kept bringing Leonardo to find me. He spread his hands and said, Little fairy, you should quit your other jobs. My brother only recognizes you. As long as I didn't have to tutor at his house, I needed the money, so there was no reason to turn it down. I resumed tutoring Leonardo. Elias kept showing up again and again, and while I could see the look in his eyes, I pretended not to. I didn't want to be Cinderella. Once you cross classes, there's so much to face, and I didn't like it. Some people are born in Rome, while others will never make it there. I've worked so hard to get here, and I don't want to live my life humbly, trying to please others. Chapter 5. During the holiday, I returned to my hometown to visit my grandmother. In the hospital, the aunt in the next room kept muttering, I told you, Granny, your adopted granddaughter must have a bright future and doesn't need you anymore. You see, she hasn't even come to see you during the holiday. Maybe you should think about marrying her off to my son. It's better to have her by your side to take care of you in your old age. My grandmother squinted her eyes and shook her head. Ondine has it hard. Other families pay tuition for their children. But in our family, the child not only earns her own tuition but also has to pay for my hospital bills. I can't hold her back. I'm just an old widow. When I die, I die. Don't say that in front of me. I won't agree to let the child graduate and come back to marry. Aunt Seven harshly criticized my grandmother. You just protect that little bastard. Let's see what happens to you. Say that again? I pulled my luggage and walked into the ward, my face darkening. Aunt Seven grabbed a few wrinkled apples and angrily turned to leave. My grandmother's cloudy eyes brightened as she saw me, and her lips trembled. Ondine's back. Why are you so thin? No matter how much suffering I endured outside, I could always hold it in. But seeing familiar faces, I couldn't stop the tears from falling. Grandma, I missed you. Her aged, rough hands weakly stroked my head. Ondine, Grandma's getting old. You don't have to keep working and sending me money for treatment. No, Grandma, since the day you picked me up, you've been the only family I have in this world. I held back my tears and comforted her. I have a scholarship and money from part-time jobs now. I'm not short of money, Grandma. I'm afraid that if you're gone, no one will care about me anymore. Please, Grandma, you must get better. After I graduate, I'll earn more money and send you to see me get married. Grandma's pale face showed a comforting smile. Okay, I want to live to see Undine get married and help you raise your children. The years of hard living had taken a toll on her body. After adopting me, not only did it not bring her a better life, but she had to work even harder to provide for me so I could eat and study. The doctor's words kept ringing in my ears. Grandma needed a special medicine to treat her illness, or she might not survive until my next holiday. An unprecedented storm didn't stop me from leaving. With the mountain flood, I was trapped in the car, watching the floodwaters rushing past both sides of the car. The water immediately started to flood in, rising quickly. The air inside the car became thinner and thinner. I stood on the seat, gripping the armrest tightly. The car was filled with quiet sobs. Dizzy and struggling for air, I could feel my joints turning white as I held on, thinking, I can't die, there's someone waiting for me in the hospital. In the haze, I seemed to see a dilapidated house with a mud bed where my mother's frail body lay. The smell of blood filled the house, and sweat dripped down her sallow face. When she saw me, she grabbed my hand, her cracked lips trembling as she murmured, Nan, Nan, I can't hold on anymore. If I die, how will you survive here? I knew she had been trafficked. The villagers told me to keep an eye on her because I was the one with a mother. But every time that man got drunk, he would beat her black and blue. If that's what it means to have a mother, I'd rather not have one. Once her injuries healed, I saw her secretly hiding in the fields, looking for empty pesticide bottles from other families. Was she planning to save a little bit of poison for later? I knew of an aunt in the village who had died from drinking pesticide. Her face purple, her eyes wide open. I kept pestering her to get me a little brother, asking her to go to the town to see a doctor. I heard the little brother of Xiao Hong's family had been brought back from the hospital. For the first time, the man didn't yell at me, money-wasting girl, and even smiled at me. I pushed on, insisting we go together. She turned her back, taking the punches that came her way. The child hasn't been out. Let's go together. It was the first time she answered so gently, and the man thought his fists had tamed everything. At the hospital in the town, I dragged her to the bathroom, and while no one was looking, I secretly took a few bills from the man's pocket and slipped them to her. Mom, hurry up and go back to your own home. She was panicking, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. No, we'll go together. I shook my head coldly. I'll stay here with Dad. You go. If you don't leave now, I'll shout for Dad. She finally ran away in tears. I followed a woman into the ladies' room, delayed for a while, and when I came out, I saw the man pacing anxiously. Where's your mom? Oh, she said it smelled too bad inside and told me to wait outside. Seeing how serious I looked, the man's anxious mood calmed down. A while later, he asked me to go inside and check. Every time, I gave the same answer. Half an hour later, he realized something was wrong, grabbed me, and pulled a middle-aged woman who had just come out. There's no one inside. The woman shrugged him off, unable to find anyone in the town. He dragged me home and beat me badly. At the worst moment, I thought I wouldn't make it. Later, maybe because he saw I still had some use, and once I grew up, I could be sold for a dowry. He kept me. Later, that man died from alcohol abuse. His relatives started eyeing me. I ran barefoot, fleeing to the town at night. The furthest I've ever walked in my life was here. I stood there, bewildered, staring at my surroundings. Everyone in this world seemed unrelated to me. I felt like an extra, a soul drifting outside this world. During the day, I rummaged through trash heaps looking for food, and at night, I slept by the hospital walls. Later, I was picked up by my current grandmother. Before me were my mother's tear-filled eyes, and Butler Lou's happy, shy smile. Chapter 6. Night had fallen thick and heavy, and everyone was at their absolute limit. In despair, some people could no longer hold on. Exhausted, they loosened their grip and fell into the water. At that moment, a voice suddenly shouted from inside the carriage. I see someone coming to save us. I see light. Whose phone still has battery? Turn on the flashlight so the rescuers know where we are. The atmosphere inside the carriage immediately lifted. Everyone began shouting with all their strength, turning on their lights. Under the violent impact of the rushing water, the train had long since been forced off the tracks, and the doors that were normally used for boarding and exiting could no longer be opened. The rescue workers had no choice but to break in through the windows. The glass shattered. The first man who climbed in looked utterly disheveled and shouted loudly, "Let the elderly and children go first." At this moment, all the passengers cooperated. Everyone made way, forming a passage so the elderly and children from the rear carriages could pass through safely. After the elderly and children had gone, I shook my dizzy head and prepared to follow. But someone suddenly grabbed my arm. "Undine, I found you." It was Elias. My vision went black, and I collapsed limply. When someone has been stretched to their absolute limit, the moment they relax, this is what happens. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. Elias's arm was splinted with wooden boards and hung from his neck. "Undine, you're finally awake. That's great." I was a little dazed. "Why are you here?" The aunt beside us spoke in a straightforward, hearty manner. "Oh my, young lady, your boyfriend really isn't easy. He personally went to rescue you and stayed here guarding you all this time without leaving." Elias's ears instantly turned red as he tried to explain. "I'm not her boyfriend." The aunt immediately chimed in. "If you treat a girl this well, even if you're not her boyfriend, you're pretty close." Elias shook his head. "Undine saved me before. Everything I did was only right." Was it really something he should do? No one is obligated to do anything for someone else. I took the cup of warm water he handed me. "How bad is the injury?" "A bone fracture. With some rest, it'll heal." After I was discharged, I followed Elias back to City A, bought medicine for my grandmother, and mailed it to her. Then I continued to focus seriously on studying and working. I simply stopped deliberately avoiding Elias when he got close. I thought I should give him a chance. "Elias, aren't you worried that I'd become your girlfriend just because I'm greedy for money?" He burst out laughing. "If that's considered one of my advantages, I'd be more than happy." I pushed his face away as he leaned closer. "I'll work hard and rely on myself to stand beside you." Shoulder to Shoulder. Chapter 7. The relationship of wealthy couples faces too many temptations, and after being worn down again and again, it eventually reaches its end. The last time I saved Elias was precisely because his parents had a huge fight that escalated to the point of divorce. Elias had seen his parents at their most loving. He couldn't accept the collapse of what had once been a happy family, so he sped recklessly and got injured. He said that when he saw how poor my circumstances were, yet how full of vitality I was, and then looked at his own lifeless home, he couldn't help but want to draw closer to me. But I couldn't retreat. I had been beaten again and again just to leave the village. I had struggled for so long to make it to university. My grandmother was still waiting for me. After he got drunk again one time, I learned that his parents had finally divorced. His younger brother, still very young, went with their mother, leaving Elias in an awkward position. He asked me, "Undine, I want a home. Can you give me one?" I thought for a long time. "I don't think it's the right time yet." He didn't reply. The two of us fell into silence. Even after the divorce, his family was still wealthy and influential. Elias's food, clothing, lifestyle, the world he had seen, and the social circles around him all formed an enormous gap between us. I couldn't take advantage of someone's emotional vulnerability and casually step into his life. Love should have a beautiful direction. Once too much gets mixed into it, it loses its purity. The next day, I received news that my grandmother was critically ill. It was the day I was supposed to tutor Leonardo. I called Elias and told him not to come that day. When he found out I couldn't buy a ticket, he was so anxious he was on the verge of tears. He drove me himself, barely stopping as we got onto the highway. Outside the car window, everything was rapidly retreating. I was burning with anxiety. I was afraid that in the very next moment, I would never see my little old lady again. That elderly woman, who herself had no one to rely on, with bound feet, trembling hands reaching out to pull me up. "Don't pick food from the trash. It's dirty, child. Tell Grandma, why aren't you going home?" After learning that I was an orphan, she said, "Stay with Grandma. I can make sure you're fed." It was the first time I realized that in a home, someone would save hot food for you. And when you were bullied, they would grab you and march to your school to stand up for you. But my little old lady, she had suffered too much. She had fallen, and there was so little I could do. She raised me when I was young, yet I hadn't been able to take care of her in her old age. I couldn't accept that. She taught me honesty from a young age. She said she would see me married, that she would help me take care of my children. How could she lie and deceive people? After refueling at a service area, my emotions had finally calmed down. I pushed him gently. Elias, go rest in the back. I'll drive. You can drive? Are you sure you can do it? I have a driver's license. Some women worry it's unsafe to drink and drive, so they hire female designated drivers. I explained briefly, mentioning a part-time job I had done. Of course, being a woman wasn't completely safe either. After being harassed and knocking down 2 drunk men, I later switched to other part-time jobs. I sat calmly in the driver's seat, fully focused on the road ahead. Up ahead was my little old lady. She must be waiting for me. Chapter 8. I drove all the way to the hospital entrance. Elias jumped out of the car with me and rushed inside. My little old lady was even weaker now, reduced to skin and bones, her face filled with illness. But when she saw the tall, handsome Elias behind me, she still raised her hand to smooth her hair, trying her best to face the person I had brought back with the nicest appearance she could manage. Grandma, I'm back. I was shaking uncontrollably, barely able to stand. Undine. Grandma is leaving. What will you do then? Her voice came in broken fragments. She couldn't let go of me. I held her hand. It was cold, thin, nothing but bones. I took out my phone and held it in front of her. Grandma, I found my mom. On the screen was the only photo I had with Butler Lou. I zoomed in on the picture, and my little old lady strained to open her eyes wider. In the photo, the 2 of us looked alike, yet we weren't standing very close. Smiling politely. Look, she's living very well now, and she treats me very well too. She also said she has a daughter who's in middle school. Grandma, look, now I don't just have a mom. I also have a younger sister. I'm not alone anymore. I made up the story. Elias, standing beside me, widened his eyes in shock. He knew I had quit my job and didn't want to go back to his family anymore. But this was the first time he learned about my connection to Butler Lou. Good, good. Undine is a child with a mother now. My little old lady smiled in relief. She held my hand tightly instead. Undine, now that you have your mother's family, when you get married in the future, I won't be afraid of anyone bullying you. I gently rested my head on her shoulder. Grandma, you can't lie to me. I'm still waiting for you to personally send me off when I get married. You said you'd help me take care of my children too. Tears streamed down my face, soaking her shoulder. She smiled weakly. Is this young man Undine's partner? Elias stepped forward and took my hand. Yes, Grandma, as long as you get better. Once Undine graduates, we'll get married. I nodded against my little old lady's shoulder. I'm waiting for you to send me off when I get married. You said you'd personally embroider my red bridal veil. You can't lie to me. I won't lie. I won't lie. She took a breath. I'll embroider Undine's red bridal veil. But after her voice fell silent, her hand loosened as well. On the monitor, the line became flat. She didn't want me anymore. In this world, there was no longer anyone who would worry about me. Chapter 9. Elias stayed with me in my hometown for a few days and accompanied me as I said my final goodbye to the old lady. On the way back, my state of mind was different. The string that had always been holding me together had snapped. Life no longer had a way back, only a road toward the end. The window was open, and the wind blew in loneliness. He saw that I remained silent the whole time. Undine, I didn't know Butler Lou was your mother. I had recognized her from the very first glance. Those scars weren't something that healed after just 10 or 20 years. I told him about my mother's tragic experience. From being trafficked to finally escaping, she's already left the past behind. Let her start a new life. But she's your mother. Aren't you going to acknowledge her? No, being trafficked is her lifelong nightmare. Seeing me would make her relive those unbearable experiences. She's finally living an ordinary life now. I don't want to disturb her. So that's why you didn't want to be Leonardo's family tutor. Yes, everyone has the right to start a new life. Just because she's my mother doesn't mean she should be trapped by moral pressure forever. If I truly love her, I should forget her. He was silent for a long time. Undine. I will always treat you well. I will always love you. Chapter 10. On the day I successfully passed the graduate entrance exam, it happened naturally. Elias became my boyfriend. I was still very busy, joining my senior classmates who were starting a business to form a new company together. Elias complained that his girlfriend was a workaholic. Before, I had been grinding day and night for the graduate exams. After the results came out, he thought things would finally slow down, but we still barely had time to go on dates. I rubbed his big head. Senior sister said our progress is very fast and the project has started smoothly. Once school starts in September, I won't be this busy anymore. After being soothed, he stopped sulking. I'm doing pretty well working with my dad now. After you graduate, you can work with me. And if you don't feel like working anymore, I'll support you. I scrunched my nose at him stubbornly, my voice soft but firm. No, you have a natural advantage. Working with your dad isn't something to be ashamed of. If you have resources, you should use them well. But I don't want to be someone who lives with their hand held out. I don't want a life that's just beauty treatments, mahjong, and 3 meals a day. But that's how my mom and the others live, easy and comfortable. I asked him, but didn't your parents ultimately fail to stay together? Didn't you tell me your father kept saying he was exhausted from working so hard for the family and wanted to relax, and that was irresponsible? He grabbed my hand nervously. I won't be like that. I'll work hard to create good living conditions for you. I squeezed his hand back. I want to have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in the future, whether in our careers or in our family, so we won't drift further and further apart. He nodded rapidly, like a pecking chicken. If this is what you like, I'll support you at any cost. But no startup ever goes smoothly from the beginning. After all the hard work put into the technology, there were always people who couldn't resist temptation and lost their way in the face of high salaries offered by rival companies. At the time, our startup was fueled purely by passion. We had no experience with failure, and blind trust turned out to be our biggest mistake. The company was on the brink of bankruptcy. The few of us hugged each other and cried. The company failed, leaving us buried under mountains of debt. It was at this moment that I was summoned to Elias's home by his father and mother. I never expected that the first time the divorced couple appeared together again would be because of me. How ridiculous. The house was silent. Everyone else had been sent away. Elias's father listed all my shortcomings one by one, trying to prove that I wasn't worthy of his son. Elias's mother remained calm, placing only a bank card on the table. I refused the bank card that came with the demand to break up. Elias's father laughed arrogantly. Little girl, taking the money is the best choice for you. Even if your little company succeeds, compared to our family, it's just a drop in the bucket. I nodded. I never planned to rely on your family. Chapter 11. When Elias learned the whole story, he held me tightly. I'm the one who dragged you down. Don't worry about it, I'll handle it. But the day before enrollment registration, I received a message from Elias. Undine, I'm sorry, I can't accompany you to the new school. Let's break up. What? I replied immediately, only to realize I had already been blocked. It seemed he was afraid I might try to stop him. He didn't even give me time to respond beyond those 2 words. Just then, a bank notification arrived, an incoming transfer of 200,000 yuan. I opened my banking app. The transfer note read, voluntary gift, 200,000 yuan, exactly the amount of my debt. Not long after meeting Elias at my new roommate's birthday celebration, things at the company began to turn around. Evidence of the rival company's ruthless poaching of our core technical staff was delivered straight into our hands. Then, in court, the traitor stood there with his head lowered. You had to know, before this. He had shamelessly mocked our naivete, laughing at how powerless we were against him. The rival company's actions spread quickly through the industry. Their reputation was ruined. Who would dare do business with a company like that? Integrity is the foundation of a company's survival. Everything went so smoothly it felt like divine assistance. What I didn't know was that in his father's office, Elias took a hard slap across the face. How did I end up raising such an ungrateful traitor? Elias wiped the corner of his mouth. You should have expected it. I have your blood running through me, selfish and cold-blooded. You sabotaged Ondine's company just to force us to break up, didn't you? Elias's father was furious, pointing at him. I wanted you to enter a strategic marriage too, to combine strengths and pave the way for you. Elias laughed mockingly. No, you wanted to pave the way for your unborn illegitimate son. Don't dress it up so nicely. My mom already has the evidence. Just wait for the court summons. Elias's father's face froze. Chapter 12. At the school gate, I saw Elias standing there, visibly uneasy, and beside him was Melisande, wearing an expression that clearly said she was here to enjoy the show. When he saw me appear, he twisted so nervously that the hem of his shirt was wrinkled. Undine, I have something I want to say to you. I gave him a cold glance and kept walking forward. Undine, I was wrong. I have something to explain. I turned around. Explain what? Explain that you broke up with me and got a new girlfriend, who happens to be my roommate. Elias froze in place, murmuring, No, that's not it. I don't have a new girlfriend. Melisande kicked him from behind. Elias, you idiot. You're supposed to go up, kneel down, hug her legs with both arms, and shout that you were wrong. I never expected him to actually take that joke seriously. Right there, in front of everyone, he ran over, dropped to his knees in front of me, hugged my legs, and shouted, Undine, I was wrong. His voice was so loud that it startled nearby teachers and students, who immediately gathered around. Melisande was laughing so hard she was clutching her stomach. My face burned with embarrassment as I pushed him. Get up already. You're a grown man, aren't you ashamed? He actually burst into tears, crying like a boiling kettle about to explode. Undine, you don't want me anymore. Why should I care about being ashamed? Melisande took out her phone and started recording. I'm going to play this at your wedding. I covered my face. Get up first. He refused. If you're willing to listen to my explanation, I'll get up. I really couldn't compete with his shamelessness. I agreed that as long as he stood up, I'd find a place to listen to him explain. In the cafe, Melisande extended her hand to me. Hello, Undine. Let me formally introduce myself. I'm Elias's childhood friend. Elias hurriedly distanced himself. A childhood friend I haven't been in touch with for years. This so-called strategic marriage, I asked her to act with me. I nodded. He quickly added, My mom and her mom are best friends. My mom is on our side. She helped me investigate what happened with your company. I nodded again and sincerely said, Thank you, Auntie. Seeing that my attitude still hadn't softened, he grew more anxious. That birthday party, it was actually for you. Melisande rolled her eyes at him. I accidentally opened the brown sugar ginger tea he bought for his girlfriend, and a certain stingy guy actually got mad. Someone insisted on celebrating my birthday a week early. I clearly like mango-flavored cake, but he insisted on getting strawberry. I like lilies, but he insisted on roses. I'm telling my mom we won't cooperate with New Star anymore. New Star was the company my senior classmates and I had founded together. No wonder, after all the setbacks, big contracts had come so quickly. Elias begged for mercy. Undine is allergic to mango. I'll make it up to you later with a mango cake just for you. Lilies, right? As long as you don't go home and complain, I'll order flowers for you immediately. Melisande picked up her bag. Give my family one more percentage point on the East City project. Don't forget my cake and flowers. I'm angry, very angry, and the consequences will be serious. After Melisande left, Elias sat back down timidly, shoulders hunched. Undine, are you still angry? I really didn't change my feelings, but you suggested breaking up, and I agreed. He took out his phone. Look, you never agreed. So this was where he had set the trap. No wonder he blocked me so fast. I asked him coldly, so what exactly did you do wrong? His voice grew smaller and smaller. I shouldn't have pretended to break up with you without discussing it with you first. But everything you've worked so hard to achieve wasn't easy at all. It shouldn't have been so casually destroyed. I picked up my bag as well. Not everything done for your own good deserves to be understood. Elias stood there frozen, watching helplessly as I walked farther and farther away. Chapter 13. That very evening, Elias's mother came to see me with a warm smile on her face. Undine, the day I gave you that bank card, it wasn't meant to humiliate you. The amount inside was just enough to help you pay off your debt. I know. She looked puzzled. How did you know? Later, I received $200,000 transferred from that card, with the note voluntary gift. I have a very good memory. I remembered the bank card number exactly. There was no other explanation. This time, Elias really was in the wrong. I thought you two had discussed everything. Who knew that Brat would make the decision on his own and bring up the breakup first? You have no idea how loudly he cried at home. Then I watched in shock as Elias's mother played a recording out loud, sobbing. She even added, "He hid in the bathroom to cry." Leonardo lay on the floor and recorded it. It's really something. Come on, add me on WeChat. It'll be easier to stay in touch. If you're still not satisfied, just leave him hanging for a while longer. I'll have Leo record him crying for you every day. If conditions allow, we can even shoot a few videos. I looked at her, at a complete loss for words. That really won't be necessary. When I looked up, I saw Elias staring at us with a completely defeated expression, being caught red-handed by the person involved. Elias's mother showed not the slightest bit of guilt. Oh right, Ondine. I've arranged a new position for Butler Lou at the company. We've also changed the housekeeper at home. You're welcome to come over and visit anytime. I thanked her sincerely. No matter when kindness is given, it deserves a positive response. She waved her hand. All right then. I won't disturb you two anymore. I'll be going. Who would have thought that from that day on, Elias would unlock a brand new skill every few days? I'd receive a bank notification on my phone, XX amount credited. There was no need to even check. The transfer note was definitely voluntary gift. I finally couldn't take it anymore and grabbed his ear. How many more times are you planning to transfer money? Elias cooperated by yelping loudly. It hurts. It hurts. You won't agree to get engaged yet, so I can only keep transferring more to raise my own value. Ondine, haven't you heard the saying? Where the love is, that's where the money goes. He took my hand and placed it over his heart. Actually, what I really want is to transfer myself to you, marked voluntary gift.